Hey guys, Wiz here, and today I'm going to be discussing how to make the Modern Warfare 3 M4A1. This gun is kind of weird when you really think about it. There's a ton of stuff on it that doesn't actually exist, and there's going to be some modifications you're going to have to do to the products that you buy to make this gun. So to start, with the actual base gun itself, airsoft would definitely be easier to do this on, but you could surely do this on a real gun. I would recommend, if you want to keep this budget, or keep this as inexpensive as possible for their base gun, I would recommend going with like a Smith & Wesson M&P 2, because some of the models come with a Picatinny railed gas block, which is what you're going to need to get the front sight in the right place, unless you want to maybe machine and design your own gas block that would be integral with the front sight, that would be accurate to the game. If you don't have the ability to do that, that's fine. Or you can get a better gun and then just buy a Picatinny railed gas block to go along with it. That's also perfectly fine, and I would actually recommend doing that more. But if you want to keep it inexpensive, but like still good enough, just go with the Smith & Wesson. So to start, you're gonna need the Aero Precision front sight. It looks exactly like the one in the game and should work perfectly fine. It's Aero Precision. They make pretty okay stuff. The G&G and GA2 flip-up rear sight. So the rear sight in the game doesn't really exist, as far as I can tell, and this is the closest thing to it. You could also do, if you really wanted to, if you could find one, the ARM Swan sleeve that has the integral rear sight with it. That I'm sure would work perfectly fine too. Make sure it's the one with the bump of it, not the low-profile one, if you want to keep it accurate. The ARM standard length riser. So for this, because you need to make room for that rear sight at the rear end of it by the charging handle, you'd have to like take a Dremel or something to the riser and chop that end off, which for such an expensive riser, that would probably suck. But if you really want to like make this accurate to the game, that might be something you have to do. Badger Tactical charging handle latch, just spray paint that yellow. Go to your hardware store, find some yellow spray paint, paint it. That's simple. Anyone with a brain can do that. And then the charging handle latch, it's pretty simple to install too. I'm sure you could find videos of it online. The Surefire M73 quad rail, I'm going to talk about that at a different time because that's a whole other bucket of crabs. 2 CAC5 rib rail panels. Those just go on the front at each side of the rail system, just like in the game. The Magpul MOE stock. You can do a CTR if you wanted to, because the CTR is arguably better, because it can be tighter on the buffer tube. But if you really want to stay true to the game, go with the MOE. 25 round straight mag. These are pretty rare nowadays. It was really strange for them to do it in the game. But like a lot of people think, oh, it's just like a regular 20 round mag. But if you look at the game, and you can use the Magpul, like Magpul loop that's at the end of it, at the bottom of the mag, you can tell it's not a 20 round mag because it's way too far down, and so it is a 25 round straight mag. You'd have to spray paint that gray too, like in the game, because I don't think they make USGI gray one. And then of course the Magpul loop, those are super easy to find and they're cheap. So to go to the Surefire M73 quad rail. So everyone that I've seen that has cloned this gun from the game have all just used Knights Armament rails. And that's fine. It's close enough. But I'm a stickler for that kind of stuff. And I noticed that in the game, it's not It's not that Infinity Ward didn't know how to model the Knight's Armament rail, because they'd done it twice before in Call of Duty 4, not only with the M4A1, but also with the M16A4. You can look at the game and tell just so much of that is completely different than any of the other Knight's Armament rails that they modeled, and it looks completely different than the actual Knight's Armament rail in real life. And I was a total stickler about that. Every time I would see someone clone it, and it would be the Knight's Armament rail, because it just isn't completely 100% accurate. Even though it looks perfectly fine, like if you really want to, a Knight's Armament rail is totally a great way to go. But if I were to ever make this rifle, I would have to do the Surefire M73 quad rail. The thing that sucks, though, is that they don't make them anymore, because I don't think they were very good rails. A lot of people had spec issues where their stuff wouldn't fit on the rail, but it would fit on every other rail that they had, but not the Surefire M73. And if you can find one of these on the third-party market, used or something, they're still super expensive. But Knight's Armament rails are also very expensive, so it's really up to you which one you want to do. If you wanted 100% accuracy, you just have to hunt one of these down online. But yeah, you can kind of tell because of the way the holes are, the ventilation holes, and all the angle positions are like completely different and look way more accurate to the game than the Knight's Armament one does. And the actual rail pieces, the actual 1913 stuff looks completely different than the Knight's Armament. Yeah, for all the other, like the gas block and the riser rail and the rear sight and all that stuff, you don't have to follow exactly this. There's one guy on YouTube, Python, who literally just designed his own rail and his own gas block and his own rear sight for the gun, and that worked perfectly fine for him, and that actually looks really good. That's the most accurate thing that I've seen. That's the most accurate clone that I've seen. So yeah, if you want to do something like that, I don't think he's released the files for the 3D models for them anywhere, so I don't think you'd be able to do it yourself. But if you somehow manage to get a hold of them and you can convert them into a way where you could put them through like a CNC to mill out some aluminum to make that, 100% the way to go. But if you can't, you did the best you can with some of the stuff here. So yeah, thanks for watching, or listening I should say, and I'll see you guys in the next video.